Hi everyone, my name is Ron Torres and I'm going to bring you a short video on a collection of best practices for student success for INSM 180, the History and Practice of Information Systems. Well, I've never been a fan of that term best practices, so let's call these really good practices. But each of the tips that I'll show you today, well, they're all focused on student success. Here's an overview of what we'll talk about today: preparing the classroom, engaging students in discussion, supporting Element K, supporting struggling students, and feedback both to the student and to the college. So let's kick this off and see what it means to prepare the INSM 180 classroom. In the Course Documents folder of your INSM 180 classroom, well, we have to supply 4 standard documents. One of them is a welcome from you to your students. The second is a standard syllabus that we download each semester from the college. Then there's the supplementary syllabus where you put your particular rules for the classroom. And the last one is that tracking calendar. Let's dive into that INSM 180 tracking calendar just a little deeper. It does a great job to identify the different readings, discussions, secondary material, and all the activities required for each week. In addition, it ties all the objectives of the course to each assignment for a particular week. But there's another mechanism in our classroom that allows us to help prepare students, to let them know what and when assignments are due. And I'm speaking about the calendar function in each of our Angel classrooms. Once you select that, you'll be presented a calendar of the current month, and what I like to do to prepare for my classroom is to enter in all of the assignments, when they start, when primary discussion is due, when discussion ends, and of course all the activities at the end of the week. And now when a student logs into your classroom, well, they'll be presented this today's calendar with all of those different assignments for that particular day. What a great way to let students know what and when assignments are due. Now, I'll go a step further in preparing my classroom, and, well, I can't take all the credit for this idea. I got it from my 16-year-old son. He said, "Hey, Dad, wouldn't it be great if you put the week's activities right up there on YouTube and broadcast yourself?" And here's a great reference from Cynthia Russell that'll tell you exactly how to do it. How to go from PowerPoint to YouTube using Windows Movie Maker. I liked this technique so much, well, I made my own channel, and there's the address of all the different videos that I have for the 2 courses that I teach, INSM 180 and BUSS 420. So every week I'll post up to my classroom a video that describes all the reading, the discussion question, and I'll detail the different assignments that are due by the end of the week. What a great way to let students know what and when assignments are due. There are a few other things that I post up to the Course Documents folder. One's a weekly reflection template, and that helps new students understand what's required from that assignment. I also post up a clarification posting on the required book. And for those students that are late registrations, well, I like to post up the first 3 chapters of our Computing Essentials textbook so that they have that while they wait for the student store to send them their copy. Let's go on to our next topic, engaging students in discussion. By now you know I like to make very graphically interesting presentations, so I went up to YouTube and looked for engaged students, and I found a lot of great photos. I found also that in at least half of these, engaged students included the instructor right there in the picture. We're an integral part of engaging students. But how do we do that? The best practice is that you have to be active. One best practice is that you respond to each primary posting, a primary posting of a student, with a follow-up of your own. Another best practice is to use what I call class postings, and I'll put those right up there in the discussion forum to help explore related topics. And there's a ton of great material. You can use our textbook. At the end of each chapter, they have open-ended, multiple choice, and matching questions. Our text also has a companion website, and it's fantastic to include some class postings based on that material as well. I also like to include current events, and for that I do something special. I look out on YouTube for videos that I can share with the class. And there's no shortage of great YouTube videos. In week 2, I like to share this particular video about how IBM and the Jeopardy Challenge utilized unstructured data in a question and answer format. For week 3, I found this great video about 2 seniors attempting to use this new technology, and I introduced the idea of what it is that we need to do to bridge the technology gap with our senior population. In week 4, we discussed Google Docs, and there's a great video titled Google Docs in Plain English. In week 5, we introduced the topic of information management, and there's a great video out there from TED on what we learned from organizing and digitizing 5 million books. And lastly, I'll share this, silly video that I use in week 7 to demonstrate information overload in our discussion on hyperconnectivity. So by following up on primary postings with postings of your own, using class postings to engage in broader discussions, and the use of YouTube videos and current events, trust me, you will have engaged students. Let's move on to the next topic, which can be a tough one, supporting Element K. Many of you are familiar with supporting third-party websites or additional tools in your classroom, and Element K is part of INSM 180, and that can be very challenging for new students. Well, by now you know what my response to that's going to be. I'll make a video, and there's a link right there to an Element K overview video that I've put together to help support my classroom, and please use it for yours. It includes all the steps a student will need to perform, from navigating to the site, logging in, setting a default password, accessing the different courses. We also review the content, actually take an assessment, and then post the final certificate up in Angel. Now there are some things that we just can't support, and for that we have to refer students off to Element K technical support, and the video includes contact information for that as well. Let's move on to a difficult topic that I call supporting struggling students. Here's an actual posting that I had in week 1 from a struggling student that says, "I'm so confused. I don't know where to begin. I got struggling in week 1, and I'm not sure if I'm doing anything right." Let's go through a couple of different ways we can support struggling students. And the first is in week 1 with the course diagnostic feedback. By the end of that week, I compile all of their responses, and I put out a response of my own. And what it is advice based on all of the different questions asked in the course diagnostic. Another way we can help struggling students is by using private postings in the discussion forum. Here's a student's discussion response, and I notice it has a number of different spelling issues. When I respond to this posting, I'll point out particular advice, the problems that went wrong, and then down at the bottom of the screen you can see there are some advanced options. I can choose to send an email to the student or post this as private so that it's only between myself and that student right there in the discussion forum. The next best practice is to email students that are not in attendance. The way I like to do this is after I've completed the discussion grading for the week, I'm able to find those students that didn't participate, and I can simply go to my email and mail them asking if everything's okay and if there's any way I can be of assistance. We have another mechanism to support struggling students, which is publishing grades. Let's take a look at that. When we go to our management console, you'll see we have the gradebook link. Once that's selected, we can select Publish Course Grades. You'll next be presented with a dialog, and what we'll do is publish grades after week 2 and after week 4. This screen that has the grade of each student. And after we've completed weeks 2 grading and weeks 4 grading, what the college asks us to do is to enter a comment for each failing or struggling student, and that will alert online counseling, and they'll also help us reach out to students. Let's go to our last topic about providing feedback for both the students and the college. One thing we have to realize is that Bryant and Stratton College has a very unique 7.5-week format. We're asking students to move quickly on to the next set of readings, discussions, and activities. What that means to us, well, lessons have a shelf life, so we have to provide feedback in a very timely fashion. Here's a presentation of an average week. And for readings, I like to provide feedback as early as possible through class postings and class follow-ups. And for discussions, well, I like to grade those immediately after the discussion closes on Friday morning, even though the grades aren't due until the following Tuesday. Finally, we have grading activities, and I like to set aside some time on Sunday in order to grade all of those assignments that were posted by the due date. Another great practice is to use those standard rubrics in order to provide standard feedback to students. We have them for weekly discussions, weekly reflections, and of course our final project as well. Our last topic is providing feedback to the college in the form of course corrections. Right in our Faculty Resource Center, there's a separate folder for course corrections and recommendations. There's a standard template you're asked to use in order to capture those corrections and recommendations, and you'll post that right there in the Dropbox. You should return later in the semester to see the status of that correction or recommendation. We've covered a lot of ground here in this presentation. We talked about preparing the classroom, engaging students in discussion, how we can support Element K and struggling students, and also provide feedback both to students and the college. And to close out this video, I'll point everyone back to the Faculty Cafe in Angel. It's a great place to share ideas with peers. Thank you all for your time and attention, and I wish you all the best of luck as you start out here at Bryant and Stratton College.